sorry. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you about the Aleister Crowley and the Book of the Law. The Book of the Law was received by Aleister Crowley in Cairo, Egypt in the year 1904. It has 3 chapters, each of which were written down in 1 hour beginning at noon on April 8th, 9th, and 10th. Crowley said that the author was a spiritual entity named Aiwass, whom he later identified as his own holy guardian angel. Rose Kelly was being put up for an arranged marriage that she did not like at all, and somehow was introduced to Aleister, and he said, "I'll help you." And so the 2 of them eloped on August 11th and then married the next day in order to get her out of this other marriage. But it wasn't simply a marriage of convenience. They really got into each other. And they went on an extended honeymoon that brought them to Cairo in early 1904. On March 16th, 1904, this is, I wanted to say first, the Stele, this is to the Egyptians, this was a funerary stele. It was to remember a priest of Montu named Ankafna Kansu. He is the guy on the right in the leopard skin, and he's before a god the Egyptologists call Ra Harakti, but we call Ra Horkwit. And the goddess Nuit is stretched out over them, a very elongated dark blue woman. And just below her is a winged sun disk that we call Hadid. And this stele was found with his coffin and some other items in the temple of Hatshepsut. Her temple, it was made to honor the pharaoh after she died and remembered her, but it became reused as a burial place for a family of the priest of Montu. And so they found not only Ankafna Kansu's equipment, but they found also many of his relatives. And this, I believe this is all Ankafna Kansu's, because in the middle you can see the stele. And according to the label, all of this belonged to him. And I do recognize the coffins. I was able to find his coffins. Mummies were buried in one coffin inside of another coffin inside of another coffin, kind of like a Russian doll. So anyway, back to Rose and Aleister. So they were in Egypt, and on March 16th, and what Crowley wrote was an avowedly frivolous attempt to impress his wife. Crowley tried to show the sylphs by means of a ritual. Rose said she could see nothing, but she did enter into a light trance and repeatedly said, "They're waiting for you." Since Rose had no interest in magic or mysticism, Crowley took little interest. However, on the 18th, after invoking Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge, Rose mentioned Horus by name as the one who was waiting for Aleister. Crowley was still skeptical, and he asked her numerous questions about Horus, which he answered correctly, without having any prior study of the subject. And the final proof was that they went to the museum, and she pointed at the Stele of Revealing. Now, one thing that's interesting is that Crowley says they went to the Boulaq Museum, and here's the Stele of Revealing in the Boulaq Museum on the left, and you see that the back side is being displayed. But what happened was that the Boulaq, there was a flood, and they had to move things out of there, and they moved them in 1902 to the Cairo Museum at Tahrir Square. So Bryce was the first person to mention that to me. And I think that it looks like the artist Mitchell Nolte also came to that conclusion, that Crowley actually saw the Stele in the Cairo Museum. So these paintings are quite wonderful. So here, Aleister and Rose are walking through the museum, and she points and says, "There, he's calling you." And then they approach the Stele, and the Stele used to be in this case, just like this, with a bunch of other steles, and she's pointing at it. And anyway, I think this is just a charming painting, like brings it very much to life. And then, of course, it was remarkable that the Stele had the museum number 666, which, of course, is a number mentioned in the Bible, but is also very interesting in Gematria. So after this, Crowley did an invocation of Horus, which he said was with great success. And then he contacted the museum and hired an Egyptologist to make a translation of the Stele and studied those. And then Rose had another vision and said that her informant was not Horus himself, but his messenger named Aiwass. And Rose gave Crowley instructions that for 3 days he was to enter the temple and write down what he heard between noon and 1 p.m. So on April 8th, 9th, and 10th, he went into, they had some rooms they were renting not far from Tahrir Square, and he entered this room, and he said he didn't see Aiwass. He describes hearing the voice of Aiwass as coming over his left shoulder, as if the speaker were standing in the corner of the room. The voice was said to be passionate, of deep, deep timbre, and musical, without any recognizable accent. And although he didn't look around the room, Crowley said he had the impression that Aiwass was a body of fine matter, like a veil of gauze. He further described Aiwass as a tall, dark man in his 30s, well knit, active, and strong, with the face of a savage king, and eyes veiled lest their gaze should destroy what they saw. And he said the dress was not Arab, it suggested Assyria or Persia, but very vaguely. And he also later made it clear that what he did was not automatic writing, but that the experience was exactly like an actual voice speaking to him. And it's evidenced by several errors that he made, that he had to ask about, that the voice was speaking and he was trying to write quickly to keep up with the voice and missed a few words, and we're gonna look into that later. And he, at one point, Crowley admits to the possibility that Aiwass was a manifestation of his own subconscious. But even if this were so, he claimed that the message imparted by Aiwass was so beyond human experience or knowledge that it necessitated a preternatural intelligence that only a god could possess. Crowley was, oh, and this is one of the passages that he had trouble keeping up with the voice. My number is 11, as all their numbers, who are of us. And then it says, lost phrase, I must have really wrote it down. The shape of my star is, and then he goes on, the colors, the color is black to the, so forth. And then we have the handwriting of Rose, and she fills in the 5-pointed star with a circle in the middle, and the circle is red. And that's really interesting to me. It shows so much that the Book of the Law was really a collaboration between both of their efforts, and that Rose also was very much in touch with Aiwass. My other friend was commenting to me earlier today, when Crowley published the Book of the Law, why did he leave out the phrase, the shape of my star is? And she thought that would make a more complete sentence. The shape of my star is the 5-pointed star. But I don't have an answer for that. But I believe it was Crowley's decision how to edit and publish the Book of the Law. Crowley was very resistant to the Book of the Law when he first received it, and he wrote, the fact of the matter was that I resented the Book of the Law with my whole soul. For one thing, it knocked my Buddhism completely on the head. I was bitterly opposed to the principles of the book on almost every point of morality. The 3rd chapter seemed to me gratuitously atrocious. But he misplaced the manuscript and forgot about it for several years. But then he came upon it again and reevaluated it and decided that it really was of great importance and made it central to Thelema. So it is a weird book. And if you don't get it right away, don't worry, because Crowley didn't get it. None of us might ever really get it all the way through. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to read chapter 1 tonight. And I think that's the easiest chapter to like, at least for me it is. It's a very beautiful chapter, and it's the voice of the goddess Nuit, and known to Egyptologists as Newt. And of course, Nuit is the French word for night. That's very fitting, especially as the goddess was, in her earliest form, was a goddess of the night sky, though over time she became a goddess of the sky, both day and night. So here's her name in hieroglyphs. The upper left is a drawing of a water pot, and that makes the sound nu. And then the half circle represents a loaf of bread and makes the sound T. So Nuit or Nuit. And then the rectangular sort of shape at the bottom is representative of the sky, and that's called a determinative. And sometimes the water pot represented her, but more often the sky shape could represent her by itself. And here is this is my painting, but it's a more elaborate picture of the symbol for the sky. And so the creation story, the Egyptians had many different and conflicting creation stories, and they never homogenized or centralized their religion. They didn't argue about which is the real creation myth. And we can speculate whether they didn't take it literally or why they were able to live with a contradiction in various stories that today we seem to have a lot of trouble with. Speaking of all the conflicts in the world over creation myths and so forth. But anyway, the creation story of Heliopolis goes that in the beginning there was the god Atum, and there was nobody. He was all alone, and there was nothing in the universe but endless dark waters and chaos. And Atum formed himself out of this chaos and arose out of this primeval ocean that was called Noon. And in the process rose a mound of earth that's called the Benben. And he sat on this mound and he masturbated. And out of the masturbation was formed the deities Shu, which is air, and Tefnut, moisture. Shu being male and Tefnut female. And then these two gods got together and they created Geb and Nut. So Geb is on the ground here. He's the god of the earth. And Nuit or Nut is the sky goddess here. And Shu, the air, is separating them. And one version of the myth is that Geb and Nuit were so passionately in love that they were having sex all the time, and it just wasn't going to work for creation. That they, maybe in some versions, the sun god is very jealous and commands Shu to separate them. But the feeling was that creation, the material world would not exist unless sky and earth were separated by air. So he's pushing them apart. Here's another version. You can see Geb has quite a big heart on. He's got his hand around it. And Nuit has these lovely red stars and some boats on her back. In some ways, the Milky Way was considered a big river in the sky that the gods would ride their boats across the sky. So Geb and Nut produced 4 children: Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys, as well as Horus the Elder. Horus the Elder being a separate god than Horus, the son of Osiris and Isis. And that's as far as I'll go with this myth. It can go on and on with lots of stories that some of you might be familiar with. So another story about Nuit is that in the morning she would give birth to the sun, and then the sun would travel across the sky, and then at night she would swallow it. And this is twin pictures of the sky. On the bottom, she's the day, and those red circles are the sun traveling up her body until it's right in front of her mouth and she's about to swallow it. And then the one on the top, she has stars on her body, so that's the nighttime. And then all these other figures are other gods, and some of them represent stars in the sky. And here's another ceiling where the sun is right in front of Nuit's mouth. She's about to swallow the setting sun. And here's yet another ceiling painting where you see the setting sun in front of her mouth. And then there's Shu holding her up. And they didn't really depict Geb as a person, just the red earth beneath his feet. So one other thing I wanted to talk about was the line in the Book of the Law says the 5-pointed star with a circle in the middle, and the circle is red. And this comes from Egyptian art. And the ceilings in tombs and temples were sometimes depicted as the starry sky. And one thing that struck me is that the stars look like flowers. And I started wondering on my own, with no evidence, believe me. Don't repeat this and say that this is fact. I don't know that it's a fact, but I wondered whether the Egyptians were comparing the stars to a flower. And I've been Googling for a 5-petaled flower with a red center that would be native to Egypt. And I haven't found one. And there might be one, but maybe Google is limited and I haven't found it yet. But they look so much like flowers to me. And I talked online to 2 Egyptologists who said that they don't know that that's true, but they think it could be plausible, but they don't know, and they don't know what flower it might be. So maybe I might have a hunch. Maybe. Don't take this as truth. It's just my hunch and speculation. But one of the Egyptologists mentioned that another theory is that the star shape came from, and sometimes the star is shown without the red dot. Sometimes it has a red dot in the middle, and quite often it doesn't. And he said that it could be a starfish. And I looked, and there's a starfish from the Mediterranean that is that shape, although it looks red rather than yellow. So I am still wondering where they got this shape. It also looks a little bit like a stick figure person. I mean, not exactly, but a little bit. And anyway, I'm wondering because stars are not actually that shape, especially in ancient Egypt, they didn't have light pollution. And so you wouldn't get a twinkling. The twinkling effect of a star is usually from light pollution. So anyway, we were speculating where they got that shape from. So Nuit also appears in coffins. And this coffin at the Metropolitan Museum on the right, Nuit is wearing an Old Kingdom style dress, and you can see her name in hieroglyphs above her head. And on the left, Nuit is naked, and I love the one on the left. It's so abstract and stylized, and her pubic hair is so large, it looks like she's wearing some kind of weird bikini. And you see the yellow disk of the sun being born there. And here's another favorite coffin with a yellow sun, or perhaps a moon because it has a crescent just below her pubic triangle being born, and then the red sun below her mouth that she's about to swallow. And the idea is that your body, your mummy, is in the coffin, and there's Nuit, who is a mother goddess stretched out above you, like welcoming you to the sky. That the idea was that one idea, there were many ideas about what happened to you when you died, but one idea was that you would go to the sky and become a star. And this is on the outside of the coffin. And Nuit has these beautiful wings, and she's holding the feather of truth. And there's many goddesses shown with wings like this, but we know it's Nuit because of the hieroglyphs in the sun disk on her head spell out her name. And so she's on steles, and here, this stele, you see Nuit stretched out, and her hair is hanging in this one. And hanging hair was something that mourners would do when you mourned someone who died. You would bend your head over and cry and have your hair hang. And it was actually part of the ritual to pull at your hair and let your hair hang down. And then you can see the sun is being born on the left, and then I guess that would be at noon in the middle, and then sunset on the right, and she's about to swallow it. And this one is in the Metropolitan Museum, and this is from the same time period as the Stele of Revealing, and also found in the same location, the Temple of Hatshepsut. So it's an interesting thing that people in New York can go see in person. So, and I wanted to show you this beautiful pastel by Juan Ramirez of Nuit that's so expressive. Uh, just a lovely atmospheric drawing.
Nice painting, Juan.
Thank you.
And then this is my painting of Nuit. I do contact body prints, and this one I like to hang on the ceiling. And you see I have the sun being born, and then the sun between her arms, and some Egyptian art, they show it there. So and we're just going to talk about the Stele of Revealing. So here is the stele. For the ancient Egyptians, it was to remember the deceased priest of Matu. He's on the right. There's a table with offerings for the god Rahorquit. Behind the god is a symbol of the West, and the West was the land of the dead. And so Nuit is stretched out over the whole scene, and just below her is the winged sun disk that was Horus of Beheti, but we call Hadit, and the hieroglyphs underneath, directly underneath that winged sun disk, say Horus of Beheti. And one thing I wanted to point out, Nuit is one of the few Egyptian goddesses that's sometimes depicted naked, not all the time. Sometimes she wears clothes, but sometimes she's depicted naked. But oddly enough, she is not naked on the Stele of Revealing. We'll show you, you see that red line just below her breast is a vertical red line. That's actually the top of her dress. And then on her neck, you can see she's wearing a golden choker. And then on the left, that horizontal red line is the hem of her dress. And then she's wearing anklets. And on the right, she's wearing golden bracelets. And she's wearing this kind of tight fitting dress that Isis is wearing on the right. This is Queen Nefertari's tomb, and Queen Nefertari is wearing contemporary fashion, but the goddess is wearing classical fashion from would have been 2,000 years old, from like the time of the pyramids, what women used to wear. And so that's the kind of dress. And here's a sculpture to show this kind of old kingdom dress. And you can see it's very tight fitting and probably translucent. She looks like she's naked at a glance, but then you see the hem of her dress down near her ankles. So that's the kind of dress that Nuit is wearing in the Stele. It has bare breast, tight fitting, and translucent. Uh, and her body is blue. So at a glance it looks like she's nude, but she isn't really. So I think that's all I have for the talk. And I'm gonna pause for a minute, and then I'm going to give you a reading of chapter 1. That's very lovely. And we'll take some deep breaths first, and get into a meditative mode, but I need to drink some water. Does anybody have any questions or anything you want to say? You have to unmute yourself if you want to say something.
I was just surprised where the Stele was found. I was actually at that temple with Bryce. I didn't know it was found there. So that was an interesting new information for me. What is it called? The Temple of Hut?
It's the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut, and it's also called Deir el Bahri. Deir is a monastery because Christians used it as a monastery at one point.
That's a temple of Hathor, though. There was a lot of Hathor, right?
Yes, it was a temple. There's a temple to Hathor as part of the complex, and tourists aren't allowed into the whole thing. I haven't seen. I think the burials were deeper inside the temple that I have never been inside. I don't know. I've only seen what tourists are allowed to see. So there's a lot to that temple that I haven't seen.
Actually, I can post tomorrow. I have a bunch of pictures from that temple, and there are some parts of the temple that are like locked. Yeah. I mean, you could see like through the through the gate you could see inside. So I don't know if anybody's interested, but maybe I can post under the group or something
That'd be
if I find it.
That would be great. Yeah. Yeah, I remember peering through that log,
Mhm.
wondering what was back there. So, so I want you to get into a comfortable position, and it's good to have your back straight. And we're going to take 3 cleansing breaths just to get into a relaxed state of mind. We're going to breathe in and hold your breath for a second, then breathe out and hold your breath for a second. And then as I read, you can either look at the stele on the screen, or if you have a picture in your own home you want to look at, or if you would like to close your eyes, or whatever works for you. So let's all take a deep breath together. Breathe in slowly and hold your breath, and breathe out slowly. And let all your breath out, and then hold it for a second. And then breathe in slowly and hold, and breathe out and hold, and breathe in and hold, and breathe all the way out. And if you want to, you can continue this pattern while you listen, or whatever is comfortable to you. And I'm going to read the first chapter that Crowley received on this day back in 1904. Hod, the manifestation of Nuit, the unveiling of the company of heaven. Every man and every woman is a star. Every number is infinite. There is no difference. Help me, O warrior lord of Thebes, in my unveiling before the children of men. Be thou Hadit, my secret center, my heart and my tongue. Behold, it is revealed by Aiwass, the minister of Hor-Par Krat. The cobs is in the coup, not the coup in the cobs. Worship then the cobs, and behold my light shed over you. Let my servants be few and secret. They shall rule the many and the known. These are fools that men adore. Both their gods and their men are fools. Come forth, O children, under the stars, and take your fill of love. I am above you and in you. My ecstasy is in yours. My joy is to see your joy. Above the gemmed azure is the naked splendor of Nuit. She bends in ecstasy to kiss the secret ardors of Hadit. The winged globe, the starry blue, are mine, O Ankaf na Kansu. Now ye shall know that the chosen priest and apostle of infinite space is the prince priest, the beast, and in his woman called the Scarlet Woman is all power given. They shall gather my children into their fold. They shall bring the glory of the stars into the hearts of men. For he is ever a sun and she a moon. But to him is the winged secret flame, and to her the stooping starlight. But ye are not so chosen. Burn upon their brows, O splendorous serpent. O azure-lidded woman, bend upon them. The key of the rituals is in the secret word which I have given unto him. With the God and the adorer, I am nothing. They do not see me. They are as upon the earth. I am heaven, and there is no other God than me and my Lord Hadith. Now, therefore, I am known to ye by my name Nuit, and to him by a secret name which I will give him when at last he knoweth me. Since I am infinite space and the infinite stars thereof, do ye also thus. Bind nothing. Let there be no difference made among you between any one thing and any other thing, for thereby cometh hurt. But whoso availeth in this, let him be chief of all. I am Nuit, and my word is 56. Divide, add, multiply, and understand. Then saith the prophet and slave of the beauteous one, who am I? And what shall be the sign? So she answered him, bending down, a lambent flame of blue, all touching, all penetrant, her lovely hands upon the black earth, and her lithe body arched for love, and her soft feet not hurting the little flowers. Thou knowest, and the sign shall be my ecstasy, the consciousness of the continuity of existence, the omnipresence of my body. Then the priest answered and said unto the Queen of Space, kissing her lovely brows, and the dew of her light bathing his whole body in a sweet-smelling perfume of sweat. O Nuit, continuous one of heaven, let it be ever thus, that men speak not of thee as one, but as none, and let them speak not of thee at all, since thou art continuous. None breathed the light, faint and fairy of the stars and two. For I am divided for love's sake, for the chance of union. This is the creation of the world, that the pain of division is as nothing, and the joy of disillusion all. For these fools of men and their woes, care not thou at all. They feel little. What is balanced by weak joys, but ye are my chosen ones. Obey my prophet. Follow out the ordeals of my knowledge. Seek me only. Then the joys of my love will redeem ye from all pain. This is so. I swear it by the vault of my body, by my sacred heart and tongue, by all I can give, and by all I desire of ye all. Then the priest fell into a deep trance or swoon, and said unto the Queen of Heaven, write unto us the ordeals, write unto us the rituals, write unto us the law. But she said, the ordeals I write not. The rituals shall be half known and half concealed. The law is for all. This that thou writest is the threefold book of law. My scribe, Ankafna Kansu, the priest of the princes, shall not in one letter change this book, but lest there be folly, he shall comment thereupon by the wisdom of Ra Horquit. Also the mantras and spells, the obeah and the wanga, the work of the wand and the work of the sword, these he shall learn and teach. He must teach, but he may make severe the ordeals. The word of the law is Thelema. Who calls us Thelemites will do no wrong if he look but close into the word. For there are therein three grades, the hermit and the lover and the man of earth. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. The word of sin is restriction. O man, refuse not thy wife if she will. O lover, if thou wilt, depart. There is no bond that can unite the divided but love. All else is a curse. Accursed it be to the aeons, hell. Let it be that state of manyhood bound in loathing. So with thy all, thou hast no right but to do thy will. Do that, and no other shall say nay. For pure will, unassuaged of purpose, delivered from the lust of result, is every way perfect. The perfect and the perfect are one perfect and not two. Nay, they are none. Nothing is a secret key of this law. 61 the Jews call it. I call it 8, 80, 418. But they have the half. Unite by thine art, so that all disappear. My prophet is a fool with his 1, 1, 1. Are not they the ox and none by the book? Abrogate are all rituals, all ordeals, all words and signs. Ra Horquit hath taken his seat in the east at the equinox of the gods, and let Asar be with Isa, who are also one. But they are not of me. Let Asar be the adorant, Isa the sufferer, Hor in his secret name and splendors the Lord initiating. There is a word to say about the hierophantic task. Behold, there are 3 ordeals in one, and it may be given in 3 ways. The gross must pass through fire. Let the fine be tried in intellect, and the lofty chosen ones in the highest. Thus ye have star and star, system and system, Let not one know well the other. There are 4 gates to one palace. The floor of that palace is of silver and gold. Lapis lazuli and jasper are there, and all rare scents. Let him enter in turn or at once the 4 gates. Let him stand on the floor of the palace. Will he not sink? Ho! Warrior, if thy servant sink, but there are means and means. Be goodly, therefore. Dress ye all in fine apparel. Eat rich foods and drink sweet wines and wines that foam. Also, take your fill and will of love as ye will, when, where, and with whom ye will, but always unto me. If this be not aright, if ye confound the space marks saying they are one, or saying they are many, if the ritual be not ever unto me, then expect the direful judgments of raw horkwheat. This shall regenerate the world, the little world, my sister, my heart and my tongue, unto whom I send this kiss. Also, O scribe and prophet, though thou be of the princes, it shall not assuage thee nor absolve thee, but ecstasy be thine and joy of earth, ever to me, to me. Change not as much as the style of a letter, for behold, thou, O prophet, shall not behold all these mysteries hidden therein. The child of thy bowels, he shall behold them. Expect him not from the east, nor from the west. For from no expected house cometh that child. All words are sacred, and all prophets true, save only they understand a little. Solve the first half of the equation, leave the second unattacked. But thou hast all in the clear light, and some, though not all, in the dark. Invoke me under my stars. Love is the law, love under will. Nor let the fools mistake love, for there are love and love. There is the dove, and there is the serpent. Choose ye well. He, my prophet, hath chosen, knowing the law of the fortress and the great mystery of the house of God. All these old letters of my book are aright, but Zadi is not the star. This is also secret. My prophet shall reveal it to the wise. I give unimaginable joys on earth, certainty, not faith, while in life. Upon death, peace unutterable, rest, ecstasy. Nor do I demand aught in sacrifice. My incense is of resinous woods and gums, and there is no blood therein. Because of my hair, the trees of eternity. My number is 11, as all their numbers who are of us. The five-pointed star with a circle in the middle, and the circle is red. My colors black to the blind, but blue and gold are seeing of the seeing. Also, I have a secret glory for them that love me. But to love me is better than all things. If under the night stars in the desert, thou presently burnest mine incense before me, invoking me with a pure heart and the serpent flame therein, thou shalt come a little to lie in my bosom. For one kiss wilt thou be willing to give all. But whoso gives one particle of dust shall lose all in that hour. Ye shall gather goods and store of women and spices. Ye shall wear rich jewels. Ye shall exceed the nations of the earth in splendor and pride. But all is in the love of me, and so shall ye come to my joy. I charge you earnestly to come before me in a single robe and covered with a rich headdress. I love you. I yearn to you. Pale or purple, veiled or voluptuous, I, who am all pleasure and purple and drunkenness of the innermost sense, desire you. Put on the wings and arouse the coiled splendor within you. Come unto me. At all my meetings with you shall the priestess say, and her eyes shall burn with desire as she stands bare and rejoicing in my secret temple. To me, to me, calling forth the flame of the hearts of all in her love chant. Sing the rapturous love song unto me. Burn to me perfumes. Wear to me jewels. Drink to me, for I love you. I love you. I am the blue-lidded daughter of sunset. I am the naked brilliance of the voluptuous night sky. To me, to me. The manifestation of Nuit is at an end.